Well, Jason, first of all, it's an honor meeting you. Thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it. I do have the pie chart with me, and I'm going to try to stray from it as far as possible.
Right.
So hopefully, yeah. So anyway, first of all, I know that basically you grew up on movie sets. You were around films and actors your entire life. So is there any moment in your head that you can remember where you just decided that you wanted to tell stories for a living?
I think it was when I saw Clerks, and I saw Bottle Rocket, and I saw Slacker by Richard Linklater. It was a series of independent American movies in the 90s that made me want to be a director.
Okay, right, yeah, those are great films. Well, going into that, the first two films of yours were independent. Both were distributed by Fox Searchlight. Both had budgets under $10 million. Now you've directed a movie starring George Clooney, and you're both are surely going to get Oscar nods for it. I mean, how do you feel? I mean, in the last 4 years, when you were directing Thank You for Smoking, did you foresee this 4 years being like this?
Well, no. I mean, I certainly could have never thought Juno would have found the audience that it did. I wanted to make movies from my heart, and I always thought that would be the best path, and that would have the greatest results. So I feel very fortunate to be where I am, that I get to make the movies that I want, personal movies, movies for adults. And but I never could have foreseen that I would have been able to be in this position so quickly.
Right. I mean, Juno was great and obviously was very successful. How did you feel that being your second feature film and having critics, including Roger Ebert, say this is the best movie the entire year?
I felt very lucky, and also it was very hard to interpret. You know, it happened so fast that I'm still trying to figure it out now.
Well, that's great. You know, I had the privilege of seeing Up in the Air, which was an incredible film.
Thank you.
I was captivated from the beginning to end. The storytelling is incredible. The characters very interesting. You have a history now of telling stories with main characters that aren't your typical hero. Of course, you have the tobacco lobbyist and Thank You for Smoking, and now someone that flies around the country laying people off. What is the secret to making these characters so likable?
You know, look, first movie was about the head lobbyist for big tobacco. Second was about a pregnant teenage girl. Third was about a guy who fires people for a living. I'm obviously attracted to the tricky stuff, and I like tricky characters to humanize, but I don't know, that's what gets me up in the morning. I get excited about it, and I just try to find the best actors possible.
Wow, that's great. You know, I was going to say, you've worked with actors like Aaron Eckhart, you've worked with Ellen Page, now George Clooney. Did an actor like George Clooney that's so established, did he have trouble, did you have trouble getting him in this role, and did he have any hesitation?
You know, a lot less trouble than I thought. You know, the guy gets 20 scripts a day. I never thought in a million years that, you know, he would say yes, but he did, and he liked the screenplay, and it was as simple as him saying, I just read your script, it's great, I'm in. Like, that was the conversation.
I mean, he was perfect in the role. He's charismatic. I mean, he's just great. So, I mean, it was obviously a perfect choice. What inspired you to write this film? You started writing it a long time ago, right?
I started writing it 7 years ago, and honestly, I couldn't get Thank You for Smoking financed, so I went looking for something else, and I found the book in a bookstore.
Wow, yeah, that's excellent. Why did you choose St. Louis and Lambert for filming?
You know, for a variety of reasons. One, it's a city that's not as shot as many other cities, and I felt I could be original here. The people are lovely here. The climate was perfect for a kind of seasonal change. And the Missouri tax incentive really meant something, and I encourage them and hope they continue with it.
That's great. Do you see St. Louis in mind for any future projects?
I hope so. I really enjoyed the quality of life here. I mean, that was another great thing. I was just kind of texting some of my crew earlier today. I was going back to some of my favorite restaurants and saying, hey, you know, wish you could be here, and they were really jealous.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great city, and it really is underutilized for film. And we have a local film, Street Ballers, that was shot here and is doing very well. It had an LA premiere, and now this movie was, you know, filmed a lot in St. Louis, so hopefully that brings some spotlight, and more films will be here. Do you find filming a movie like this, where they travel a lot, more difficult to keep track of scenes and locations since they do move around a lot?
We shot in 5 cities. And it was a little all over the place, and it becomes a little harder. You know, I mean, you have to take it 1 week at a time.
Because it's very fluid in the film. I mean, you know, you don't say that it's all over the place or anything. I mean, it turned out really well.
Thank you.
I just thought it might be confusing when filming, but
well, you got to use a great crew who keeps you on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any particular genre of film that you like, but you can't see yourself directing?
Yeah, I mean, like, horror sci-fi.
Yeah,
I love horror sci-fi films, but it's hard to imagine me doing
you
one.
don't think you're ever going to do any
Yeah, it's hard to
horror or-
imagine, the Predator having a midlife crisis.
Right, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. What are some of your favorite films this year?
This year,
Yeah.
love Hurt Locker. I love Up.
Up was excellent.
I love Where the Wild Things Are. It was just beautiful.
Beautifully shot.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. That was great.
I haven't had a chance. There was a
Great.
screening I couldn't make
you
it
gotta
to.
see it.
Oh, I will. I think in a couple of weeks. What projects are you most looking forward to in the future?
Well, I'm working with Jenny Lumet on a screenplay. She wrote Rachel Getting Married, and I'm also adapting a Joyce Maynard book. I'm excited about both those projects.
Oh, great. And what about Ghostbusters 3?
What about it?
So is that in production officially?
In production? No, they're trying to get a screenplay
Okay.
written.
Oh, okay. So we'll keep crossing our
hoping.
fingers, though.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. And now that you live in a world where a movie can be made for $15,000 and go on to gross $100 million in the box office, equipment is becoming more affordable, and there's sites like YouTube. Where do you see the future of filmmaking going?
Well, Coppola said back in the 70s that the next Mozart would be a kid with a camera, from the middle of nowhere. And he was early, but I think he's right. We're going to get more interesting storytellers coming from the middle of nowhere. It used to be that, sure, you could paint a painting and write, a story, but making a film required a lot of money. And hopefully this access will provide for some real gems.
Great. And you produced the film
Jennifer's Body.
Jennifer's Body. You produced that. What was it like working with Diablo Cody on that again?
Well, I
on the
love
film again?
Diablo. She's like a sister to me, so I'll take any chance I can get to work with her.
Is she? Great. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
indeed, that
appreciate
was
the
fun.
time. It's great. Yeah. Thanks
Certainly.
a lot.